Do we got 9 o'clock?
Yep.
Yes. All right, I got 9 o'clock. I'm gonna call the meeting order, start with pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good morning. Good morning. Next I have is approval of today's agenda.
Motion to approve today's agenda.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is approval of minutes of 1:29 and 1:30 of 2024.
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes from January 29th and 30th, 2024 as presented.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is approval of claims for payment of 2/5 of 2024.
I will make a motion to approve the claims for payment for February 5th, 2024.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is consideration to approve the appointment of Nancy Hoffman to fill the Hardin Township Clerk unexpired term.
I'd make a motion to appoint Nancy Hoffman to fill the Hardin County Clerk unexpired term.
And I will second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No relation.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is consideration to approve resolution 2024-06, new building. Public hearing for secondary roads.
Make a motion to approve the resolution number 2024-06, new building public hearing for secondary roads.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Taylor, you want to explain that?
Sure. Morning, Taylor.
Hey.
How are you?
Good, so yeah. Just Iowa code, since it's big enough expenditure, we need to have a public hearing on it. So I don't think you said what date, but you can announce that if you want, and then. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm asking for quotes from some local companies, and then I'll bring them to you guys, and then at the public hearing, we can discuss it. So,
And I know during your budget discussion with us, we had discussed trying to utilize as much local labor and products and materials and services as possible. So that discussion has been had, and hope that we can utilize as much local talent and time and materials.
I guess I can just, the reasoning, our truck shed, which houses the 6 Eldora snowplows in Eldora here, are the roof has had problems over the years, and it's getting worse and worse. So we have a company that's going to repair they kind of gave us 3 options of what to do, and so we're just gonna repair the problem for now, and then we're hopefully gonna build a new building behind that, because this one is on borrowed time.
The other thing is you plan, this current year's budget, you had what, a $3 million shop
Yes.
in it,
So
and
this,
that cannot be built.
correct, so we're gonna do this instead of a shop and just live with the shop we got. So not enough money to go around and build everything, so it is what it is.
So the difference, shop versus building versus office. So can you explain shop versus cold storage building?
Yeah, so say right there.
Right, yeah,
You know, right there, it kind of explains
So-
the price difference. Yes, a shop, would have a lot of overhead cranes in it. And so the foundations for that are a lot different than just a, cold storage building, so. Yeah, that's pretty much.
So
just
what
it
you're in, so what we're going to consider on February 26th at 9:02 AM is
Yep.
a building, it would be heated for the trucks and climate controlled. It just would not have the overhead cranes and lifts and maintenance stuff that Shane and his team of mechanics use. That work will still, as much of it will go on in the old building as possible, but this new, we wouldn't have the structural integrity issues.
Correct, so a shop would have probably been like a steel building. I did not specify what to do, but I assume that we will get a bid for, more like a pole building, so and that's a big price difference right there.
Yeah.
So,
And a wash bay.
yes, both of them would have had a wash bay, but yeah, we wanted to have a wash bay in here, and then there'll be a firewall between. And then that cuts down on your
The
side, because
sprinkler.
then we will not need the sprinklers, so
Correct.
it'll be small enough. Yes, the shop, so then there's different Iowa codes on the shop versus the storage building.
Yep.
So yeah, it's pretty, if it's gonna be a shop, it's a pretty small area that still needs a sprinkler. This will be able to get by without that. So,
Okay.
We'll have a public hearing, Donna, unless you want to catch them afterwards.
I just wanted to ask location.
it's,
Oh, right behind the building, that's already there.
Where's that at?
northwest corner of Eldora.
Did you want?
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Hearing none, roll call. Oops.
I was just gonna clarify that the public hearing on this will be 9:02 AM on February 26th.
Any other discussion?
Thank you.
Roll call.
Renee,
Aye.
BJ,
Aye.
Lance,
Aye. Motion carries.
Thanks, Taylor.
Okay, moving on. Acknowledge receipt of sheriff's report for January of 2024.
Lance, I'd make a motion to approve Sheriff McDaniel's report for the month of January 2024.
I will second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is acknowledge receipt of recorder's report for January 2024.
I will make a motion to acknowledge the receipt of the recorder's monthly report for January 2024.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, I have this change of statuses.
I've got a pair of change of statuses. The first is in the Conservation Department. This is the hiring of Josh Gaffney, interpretive resource technician at $42,000 a year, effective February 1st, 2024.
Make a motion, or I'll second. Excuse me.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries.
And the next one I have is hire, or actually a resignation in the sheriff's office. Denise Helton was a cook at the rate of $16 an hour. And this is effective February 9th, 2024.
I will second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next is other business.
I appreciate the folks for coming out to the two legislative events on Friday. Had a good discussion, and one of the things that I can report that's more county pertinent, and Lori may appreciate the fact that Senator Sweeney is leading the way on a bill that will make it mandatory that drainage districts are disclosed in the deed and abstract. So it won't be something where somebody buys a parcel and then 6 months later gets an assessment and they had no idea they were buying into one of our over 200 drainage districts. So seems kind of minuscule, but when it comes to some of our larger drainage projects, that could be upwards of $10,000-15,000 that a single person could be getting the assessment for. And during that transfer process, if you buy a parcel, and we've just done maybe a $2-3 million project, that bill is then the responsibility of the new owner. And so right now, it's not mandated that that's disclosed in the deed and abstract. So this is a really more of a consumer protection than anything. So I look forward to hopefully having some resolution to that problem.
Be crazy if they didn't. I think it was 3 words.
Yeah.
3 words.
Yeah. Yeah, so, nope, that was my other business, and I do appreciate folks showing up for the legislative forums.
Yeah, there was a lot of school interest.
Yeah.
Any other business? Hearing none, any public comments? From there, I have a general information presentation by Iowa Department of Corrections, Second Judicial District. Come on up.
Thank you.
That's my hand. Perfect. Interested? Oh, I know a few people here. I think these gals in the front row would
Absolutely.
definitely appreciate that.
First, thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for bringing up the second district.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. We'll provide general information about the Department of Corrections, who we are, what we do, and then we have some more specific information on the services we have specifically for Hardin County and numbers and locations and so forth. So I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Mike Dahlbeck. I'm residential manager of the correctional facility in Marshalltown. Also with me, Alfredo Rodriguez. He's an executive officer. Julie Brandt, our probation and parole supervisor, wasn't able to be with us today, so we'll go ahead and split up her section today. So on the first page of the handout, lists all 8 districts that Department of Corrections occupies. We used to be a judicial district, but after state realignment, we're now Department of Corrections, second district, no longer judicial. In second district, we cover 22 counties. Largest geographical area in the state. We have offices in Mason City, in Fort Dodge, in Marshalltown, and Ames. Each of those locations has both a probation office and a correctional facility, with the exclusion of Ames. We closed our correctional facility about 5 years ago due to budget constraints. The second page, just for information purposes, the 8 districts, community-based corrections, we supervise 29,000 people at any given time, in any given time throughout the state. That's dividing all 8 districts up. In our 9 correctional institutions, there are 8,500 current inmates or incarcerated individuals. In our 20 community residential facilities, 3 of them are in second district. We house about 1,185 folks a year. You can see at the bottom, daily cost to incarcerate someone in an institution is $107 versus in the community on the street is $7 per day. Second district, we have pre-trial and probation services. That's pre-institutional. That's folks who have not yet been to an institution. They're efforts that we try to do to keep people in the community, prevent the excessive cost of housing people in an institution. We also supervise folks who are on parole and work release. Those who've been in prison have been granted a release. They can be granted a work release to a residential facility or on parole, which means the Iowa Board of Parole releases them from the institution to a private residence in our communities. Our goals are similar. We assess the needs. We try to provide treatment. We pay victim restitution and fines, with an emphasis on folks maintaining employment and continuing education. On the next page, just gives a little outline. This is a little bit in my wheelhouse. I've been with the department a little over 30 years, all of it with second district, majority of it in Marshalltown. These are our 3 residential facilities. The only one that houses men and women is in Mason City. Fort Dodge houses 66 men, and in Marshalltown, the facility that I manage, we facilitate 60 male individuals. Those are people who are on probation or parole, or maybe coming from the institutions as well. People who come to a halfway house, usually they're about 4 months on average. They work, those who are able to work, do work. They attend treatment. They're assigned probation and parole officers who meet with them regularly. We have treatment service staff in-house. Sometimes guys come to us with absolutely nothing to their name. They have no ID, no social security card, limited work history. So we really try to use community resources and our internal resources to help folks out. During their stay, folks do pay rent, $20 a day in rent. For meals, we provide 3 meals per day for guys in the halfway house and the correctional facilities. Some of this, we're just gonna go through, the crime assistance and the process approach and individual risk and social economic declines over the lifespan. Ideally, that's what we're looking for. Some people age out, and they just get older and it happens. Others, there are services that we can intervene, substance abuse, mental health. And I don't want to steal Alfredo's thunder here, but he's gonna get into a little bit about the treatment that we provide, the assessments that we do, the risk levels we have with people in the community. So I'll go ahead and turn it over, and if you have any questions at any time, please. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
morning, everybody.
Good morning.
As Mike was saying, my name is Alfredo Rodriguez. I'm an executive officer for the department, and my duties are district-wide and mostly focused on operations and administration. So I'm gonna speak a little bit about like the levels of risk and stuff, and then I have a handout that it shows data that's specific to Hardin County and what's here, what's being supervised here. So every client or offender or whatever, however you want to call it, they get a risk assessment or several risk assessments completed on them that determines their level of risk. And when we say risk, we mean risk for reoffending. And that those assessments dictate what level of risk they are, which then dictates, resources afforded to the clients or the offenders. That can dictate whether they need a probation or parole officer one time a week, once every other week, once a month. It dictates what kind of treatment they receive or in terms of how often or the intensity of treatment too. And we have high risk, which is the highest risk. These are your clients that are meeting weekly with POs that are involved in all types of services from mental health to substance abuse. Then we have like medium moderate risk, which is they're in between. So they still meet with their POs pretty regularly every other week and are still involved in resources. Then you have your low risk crowd, which is the majority of the people that we serve. And they don't meet their probation or parole officers as often because their risk for reoffending is a lot lower. So we try to maximize the resources where the risk is at to make the most impact. For Hardin County, I brought some specific information data for Hardin County of what's here. I don't know who's all.
Are these all adults?
I'm sorry, what's that? Well, I guess I should get one, shouldn't I? I think I hear you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
If these were all adults that you're giving us.
Yeah, so we don't, Department of Corrections doesn't supervise juvenile offenders, it's just adults. Although we do have some juveniles under our jurisdiction, and it's mostly from the state training school where they get waived up to adult court and subsequently get placed on adult probation. And that's how we sometimes get 17-year-olds and sometimes even, I remember having a 16-year-old when I was case managing up here. So that's about the only way we'll get juveniles be from here, from the state training school. So as you can see here, when I pulled this data at the time, which was about a month ago, but it averages about these numbers. There were 120 clients that we were supervising out of the Marshtown Probation Parole Office living in Hardin County throughout the county. Of those, 100 male, 20 are female. And then the primary supervision statuses of those 120 folks is they're on probation, interstate compact parole, parole and special sentence and pretrial release. So interstate compact is clients or offenders that came from other states and then came to us and we're supervising them for the other state. Parole is just they're out of prison and they're still on supervision. They came from prison and on supervision versus being on probation where they get sentenced to that in district court. And then special sentence are our sex offenders. So they complete their initial sentence for their index crime or their main crime or offense. And then they get placed on a second special sentence per Iowa code. And then pretrial release is just anybody that the court has placed on supervision pending the outcome of their trials. And then I was talking about supervision levels, high, low, moderate. The assessments, when it spits out what kind of risk they are, it spits it out in terms of a number from 0 to 5, 5 being the highest risk and 0, 1 being the lowest risk. In Hardin County, of those 120, 75 are deemed low risk or level, supervision level 0 to 2. And those folks, for the most part, the most common offense type are drug possession, sex offenses, and OWI, offenses. Of those 120, 45 are moderate to high risk folks, again, living here in Hardin County. And most of them are on supervision for assault type crimes, violent crime, and burglary. And then we can get into the treatment options, which we can discuss, I believe. We'll get into it here in a little bit, but so the main treatment options we have is active. It targets, those are your domestic abuse clients. It targets impulsivity and things like that, thought processes. Then we have SOTP, which is our sex offender treatment program. And MRT is more recognition therapy, is more for trauma, mental health type treatment, and individual counseling. And that's offered, we're kind of unique in the way in our district where we're so rural and across 22 counties that a lot of our treatment is done virtually via Zoom and things like that, so. Okay, and if we move back to the PowerPoint, or before I move on, do you guys have any questions over the numbers and the data specific to here? Okay. So on the PowerPoint, as Mike was talking about right before he sat down, how do we help individuals achieve crime desistance? Those are the kind of things that we target that we can gain from assessments, risk assessments and stuff that are individualized to the individual to know what we need to do with them and how intense. And I was just on the next page, just what I was talking about. Imagine the dosage of treatment at the level of offender, of the client in terms of for us. What's needed to stabilize them, but not just to stabilize them, but also build their strengths. So that they don't continue to do what they do. Other services that we have, obviously, you guys probably heard of this GPS monitoring, which is an ankle bracelet. That's expensive, but it's a resource that we have available to us that we can use if need be, for whatever the reason is, this is because of a victim issue or anything like that, where we can keep eyes on our guys 24/7. Curfew monitoring, we have drug court, Marshall County Drug Court, it's official now, but it was more unofficial, just done through voluntary basis, but now we officially have a drug court in Marshall County. And then, of course, random alcohol and drug testing, and we have the Iowa Domestic Abuse Program, which is the active program. We just talked about sex offender treatment, EMDR. I'm not too sure exactly what that is, but I know it deals with trauma, and we have a couple of psychologists that are in our district that do that specific type of treatment. Specialized assessments deal with, again, trying to figure out what kind of services do our guys need, so. And I won't go through the whole treatment menu, but this is for the most part what we offer internally for treatment with our treatment staff. But our people also receive treatment externally through local substance abuse agencies and mental health agencies. And Mike just talked about here on the corrections facts to ponder some of this stuff. Where our prison population is, always over capacity. I don't think I've been with the department for coming up on 8 years here, and I don't think I've ever seen it once under capacity. I think it might have gotten there during COVID, but that's about the only time because they needed to get people out. But the majority of those 8,000 to 8,500 people at any given point, 90% of those they're going to be released back in the community. A very small percentage, 10% handful are your lifers, usually in there for some very violent crimes like murder, things like that, so. One thing about Hardin County that's unique is compared to some of the other counties is there's a higher rate of sex offenses, people on supervision for sex offenses for whatever the reason is. And it does take a lot of resources to be able to, help our clients out. When somebody's on for a sex offense, we divert a lot of resources to them, to help them, so that they don't commit, the egregious acts that they're on supervision for. But Hardin County is unique in that sense that, given the population and the rate of offenders, it's just a thing here and has been for a little bit.
Do you think that's because of maybe we have some housing options that other geographic areas don't have, that we don't have some smaller towns don't have a school or some of those things that limit offenders? Is that part of the
That could be.
reasoning?
Yeah, it could be. We've tried to look into why the reason is, because from a resource issue or from a resource point of view, we have to have that many more staff, having caseloads out here. And we can never find a reason why that is. Yeah, it's unique here.
We really have tried to look at it, and to what you were referring to, there's a 2,000-foot law.
Right.
And a lot of times smaller bedroom communities end up being the location for folks because they can't find anyone else in the community.
Right.
Marshtown's a prime example of that, where if you're a sex offender with a 2,000-foot condition, I mean, you can't live anywhere in town except for like next to Iowa Avenue. That's
Yeah.
the strip.
Yeah,
Other than that, you're barred from anywhere.
because you have all the elementaries that are geographically
centers.
located, your daycare centers.
Spread out.
Yeah.
That prevents people from living in town legally, so it could be they come to Eldora or Iowa Falls, they may not have that. It'll get them in compliance. So,
Yeah.
Alfredo is,
hey, Carol.
How are you doing?
Good afternoon.
student of mine at BV. You're talking about the number of sex offenders, and is that historically true, or is something like a snapshot today? If you went back 5, 10 years, do you know historically if
Yeah.
that's true?
It's historically, it's a trend, it's a pattern that's been here, like as long as I've been with the department, I've come in on 8 years. We can't find a reason why, so.
Okay.
Good question though. Hey, awesome to see you. One thing we do struggle with, and our probation full supervisor is not here, specifically in Eldora and Iowa Falls, sometimes the case managers, they have a hard time finding a place to meet with the clients. So we didn't know if you guys could, or have anything in mind that could be a suitable public place, keeping in mind safety for the officers that come out here, where they could potentially meet on a consistent basis with clients or offenders. What have they been using up to this point? When I was coming here, it would let me use the courthouse or the old courthouse on the second floor. But that was a little while ago, a few years ago. I don't know what they use now. But
We do.
I don't know.
Where do they meet now, Daryl?
And it's moved around a little bit. City Hall, I think they had made some space for them there, and they've used the courthouse, but I think after hours has kind of always been more the rub, for public buildings that aren't open. I think they've just mostly been doing them in Iowa Falls at the police station.
Right. We can't use the library either.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
expenses, yeah, so. I know that was one for some of the clients that we could meet there, but not for a lot of them.
Okay.
I don't know, something to ponder.
Yep.
We promised our probation parole supervisor we bring up. Anything else like anything I'm using right now?
Only that historically, Hardin County has served on the board of directors. And with the realignment, the board is taking a different stance, it's more of an advisory board. We would like to continue having Hardin County representation if possible. I know they're planning to have a meeting in early spring and to determine what future meetings will look like, the roles of that advisory board meeting as well.
I previously sat on that, so I'm interested to find out how that's gonna proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, for the information.
You guys have any questions?
I don't. It was very informative.
Yeah. Good information.
Well, all I got left is adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries for adjournment. Thank you, guys.
Yes.